is Grace, and welcome to the Grove. So tonight I'm going to be reading the second half of Civil Disobedience for you. You can probably hear my neighbors in the background. I've been trying to record another audio for a while now, and the noise from my neighbors has interrupted my recording several times. I was starting to get really frustrated, and I'm trying to film a calming meditation audio, so me being frustrated is not the right mindset to be in for that. So I thought now might be a good time to read part 2 of Civil Disobedience for you, because if there's a little bit of background noise, hopefully it won't disturb you too much, and I can relax a little bit, and you can relax a little bit. We can both just relax and take a little break, because sometimes you just need to step away, right? So last time I described the book for you, and I'll go ahead and do that again because I think that was kind of fun. So the book jacket is this really thick, shiny paper. Oh, that sounds nice. And it's this really pretty orange, bright orange color, and it has trees and water, and it's fall foliage, so it's all the yellows and greens and oranges, and it's really feels really good. Really like that. I'll set that over to the side. And the book itself has a green spine with gold embossed lettering on it. When I run my fingers over the letters, I can feel the raised letters on my fingertips. Ooh, I'm already getting tingles. How about you? And the front and back covers are cream colored. That's the front. Here's the back. Oh, it's really nice. And the pages themselves. They're a really thick paper, and the edges of them are a little rough, so it almost looks like handmade paper. It's really pretty. Okay, so when we left off, Thoreau was getting ready to go to prison for refusing to pay his taxes. So we're at the part now where he's going to start talking about his prison experience. That's the little tassel on the bookmark. It's white and it has a little silver bead on the end of it. Like that. And then the bookmark is red and it says keep calm and read on. Which is exactly what we're going to do tonight. So let's find out what prison was like for Thoreau. The night in prison was novel and interesting enough. The prisoners in their shirt sleeves were enjoying a chat and the evening air in the doorway when I entered. But the jailer said, "Come, boys, it's time to lock up," and so they dispersed, and I heard the sound of their steps returning into the hollow apartments. My roommate was introduced to me by the jailer as a first-rate fellow and a clever man. When the door was locked, he showed me where to hang my hat and how he managed matters there. The rooms were whitewashed once a month, and this, at least, was the whitest, most simply furnished, and probably the neatest apartment in the town. He naturally wanted to know where I came from and what brought me there, and when I had told him, I asked him in my turn how he came there, presuming him to be an honest man, of course, and as the world goes, I believe he was. "Why," said he, "they accused me of burning a barn, but I never did it." As near I could discover, he had probably gone to bed in a barn when drunk and smoked his pipe there, and so a barn was burnt. He had the reputation of being a clever man, had been there some 3 months waiting for his trial. Waiting for his trial to come on, and would have to wait as much longer. But he was quite domesticated and contented, since he got his board for nothing, and thought he was well treated. He occupied one window, and I the other, and I saw that if one stayed there long, his principal business would be to look out the window. I had soon read all the tracts that were left there, and examined where former prisoners had broken out, and where a gate had been sawed off, and heard the history of the various occupants of that room, for I found that even here there was a history and a gossip which never circulated beyond the walls of the prison. Probably this is the only house in the town where verses were composed, which are afterward printed in a circular form, but not published. I was shown quite a long list of verses which were composed by some young men who had been detected in an attempt to escape, who avenged themselves by singing them. I pumped my fellow prisoner as dry as I could, for fear I should never see him again, but at length he showed me which was my bed, and left me to blow out the lamp. It was like traveling into a far country, such as I had never expected to behold, to lie there for one night. It seemed to me that I had never heard the town clock strike before, nor the evening sounds of the village, for we slept with the windows open, which were inside the grating. It was to see my native village in the light of the Middle Ages, and our Concord was turned into a Rhine stream, and visions of knights and castles passed before me. They were the voices of old burghers that I heard in the streets. I was an involuntary specter and auditor of whatever was done and said in the kitchen of the adjacent village inn, a wholly new and rare experience to me. It was a closer view of my native town. I was fairly inside of it. I had never seen its institutions before. This is one of its peculiar institutions, for it is a shire town. I began to comprehend what its inhabitants were about. In the morning, our breakfasts were put through the hole in the door, in small, oblong, square tin pans made to fit, and holding a pint of chocolate, with brown bread and an iron iron spoon. When they called for the vessels again, I was green enough to return what bread I had left, but my comrade seized it and said that I should lay that up for lunch or dinner. Soon after, he was let out to work at haying in a neighboring field, whither he went every day and would not be back until noon. So he bade me goodbye, saying that he doubted if he should ever see me again. When I came out of prison, for someone inferred and paid that tax, I did not perceive that great changes had taken place on the common, such as he observed who went in a youth and emerged a tottering and grey-headed old man. And yet a change had, to my eyes, come over the scene, the town, and state, and country, greater than any that mere time could effect. I saw yet more distinctly the state in which I lived. I saw to what extent the people among whom I lived could be trusted as good neighbors and friends, that their friendship was for summer weather only, that they did not greatly propose to do right, that they were a distinct race from me by their prejudices and superstitions, as the Chinamen and Malays are, that in their sacrifices to humanity they ran no risks, not even to their property, that after all they were not so noble that they treated the thief as he had treated them, and hoped by a certain outward observance and a few prayers, and by walking in a particular straight through though useless path from time to time, to save their souls. This may be to judge my neighbors harshly, for I believe that many of them are not aware that they have such an institution as the jail in their village. It is formerly the custom in our village, when a poor debtor came out of jail, for his acquaintances to salute him, looking through their fingers, which were crossed to represent the grating of a jail window. How do ye do? My neighbors did not thus salute me, but first looked at me, and then at one another, as if I had returned from a long journey. I was put into jail as I was going to the shoemaker's to get a shoe which was mended. When I left out the next morning, I proceeded to finish my errand, and having put on my mended shoe, joined a huckleberry party, who were impatient to put themselves under my conduct, and in half an hour, for the horse was soon tackled, was in the midst of Huckleberry Field, on one of the highest hills, 2 miles off, and then the state was nowhere to be seen. This is the whole history of my prisons. So I basically went to debtor's prison for one night. I have never declined paying the highway tax, because I am as desirous of being a good neighbor as I am of being a bad subject. And as for supporting schools, I am doing my part to educate my fellow countrymen now, for it is no particular item in the tax bill that I refuse to pay it. It is for no particular item in the tax bill that I refuse to pay it. I simply wish to refuse allegiance to the state, to withdraw and stand aloof from it effectively. I do not care to trace the course of my dollar, if I could, till it buys a man or a musket to shoot one with. The dollar is innocent, but I am concerned to trace the effects of my allegiance. In fact, I quietly declare war with the state after my fashion, though I will still make what use and get what advantage of her I can, as is usual in such cases. If others pay the tax which is demanded of me from a sympathy with the state, they do but what they have already done in their own case, or rather they abet injustice to a greater extent than the state requires. If they pay the tax from a mistaken interest in the individual taxed, to save his property or prevent his going to jail, it is because they have not considered wisely how far they let their private feelings interfere with the public good. This, then, is my position at present, but one cannot be too much on his guard in such a case, lest his action be biased by obstinacy, or an undue regard for the opinions of men. Let him see that he does only what belongs to himself and to the hour. I think sometimes, why, this person mean well, but are only ignorant. They would do better if they knew how. Why give your neighbors this pain to treat you as they are not inclined to? But I think again, this is no reason why I should do as they do, or permit others to suffer much greater pain of a different kind. Again, millions of men without heat, without ill will, without personal feeling of any kind, demand of you a few shillings only without the possibility, such is their constitution, of retracting or altering their present demand, and without the possibility on your side of appeal to any other millions, why expose yourself to this overwhelming brute force? You do not resist cold and hunger, the winds and the waves. Thus obstinately you quietly submit to 1,000 similar necessities. You do not put your hand into the fire, but just in proportion as I regard this as not wholly a brute force, but partially a human force, and consider that I have relations to those millions as to so many millions of men, and not of mere brute or inanimate things, I see that appeal is possible, first and instantaneously from them to the maker of them, and secondly from them to themselves. But if I put my head deliberately into the fire, there is no appeal to fire or to the maker of fire, and I have only myself to blame. If I could convince myself that I have any right to be satisfied with men as they are, and to treat them accordingly, and not according in some respects to my requisitions and expectations of what they and I ought to be, then like good Mussulman and fatalist, I shall endeavor to be satisfied with things as they are, and say it is the will of God. And above all, there is this difference between resisting this and a purely brute or natural force, that I can resist this with some effect, but I cannot expect, like Orpheus, to change the nature of the rocks and trees and beasts. I do not wish to quarrel with any man or nation. I do not wish to split hairs, to make fine distinctions, to set myself up as better than my neighbors. I seek rather, I may say, even an excuse for conforming to the laws of the land. I am but too ready to conform to them. Indeed, I have reason to suspect myself on this head, and each year, as the tax-gatherer comes around, I find myself disposed to review the acts and position of the general and state governments, and the spirit of the people to discover a pretext for conformity. We must affect our country as our parents, and if at any time we alienate our love or industry from doing it honor, we must respect effects and teach the soul, matter of conscience and religion, and not desire of rule or benefit. I believe that the state will soon be able to take all of my work of this sort out of my hands, and that I shall be no better a patriot than my fellow countrymen. Seen from a lower point of view, the Constitution, with all its faults, is very good. The law and the courts are very respectable. Even this state and this American government are, in many respects, very admirable and rare things to be thankful for. Such as a great many have described them, but seen from a point of view a little higher, they are what I have described them. Seen from a higher still, and the highest, who shall say what they are, or what they are worth looking at or thinking of at all? However, the government does not concern me much, and I shall bestow the fewest possible thoughts on it. It is not many moments that I live under a government, even in this world. If a man is thought-free, fancy-free, imagination-free, that which is not, never for a long time appearing to be to him, unwise rulers or reformers cannot fatally interrupt him. I know that most men think differently from myself, but those whose lives are by profession devoted to the study of those or kindred subjects content me as little as any. Statesmen and legislatures, standing so completely within the institution, never distinctly and nakedly behold it. They speak of moving society, but have no resting place without it. They may be men of a certain experience and discrimination, and have no doubt invented ingenious and even useful systems, for which we sincerely thank them. But all their wit and usefulness lies within certain not very wide limits. They are wont to forget that the world is not governed by policy and expediency. Webster never goes behind government, and so cannot speak with authority about it. His words are wisdom to those legislatures who contemplate no essential reform in the existing government, of his mind's range and hospitality. Yet compared with the cheap professions of most reformers and the still cheaper wisdom and eloquence of politicians in general, his are almost the only sensible and valuable words, and we thank heaven for him. Comparatively, he is always strong, original, and above all, practical. Still, his quality is not wisdom, but prudence. The lawyer's truth is not truth, but consistency or a consistent expediency. Truth is always in harmony with herself, and is not concerned chiefly to reveal the justice that may consist with wrongdoing. He well deserves to be called, as he had been called, the defender of the Constitution. There are really no blows to be given to him by him, but defensive ones. He is not a leader, but a follower. His leaders are the men of '87. I have never made an effort, he says, and never proposed to make an effort. I have never countenanced an effort, and never mean to countenance an effort, to disturb the arrangement as originally made by which the various states come into the Union. Still thinking of the sanction which the Constitution gives to slavery, he says, because it was a part of the original compact, let it stand. Notwithstanding his special acuteness and ability, he is unable to take a fact out of its merely political relations, and behold as it lies absolutely to be disposed of by the intellect. What, for instance, it behooves a man to do here in America today with regard to slavery, but ventures, or is driven, to make such desperate answer to as the following, while professing to speak absolutely and as a private man, from which what new and singular code of social duties might be inferred. The manner, says he, in which the governments of those states where slavery exists are to regulate it, is for their own consideration, under their responsibility to their constituents, to the general laws of propriety, humanity, and justice, and to God. Associations formed elsewhere, springing from a feeling of humanity or any other cause, have nothing whatever to do with it. They have never received any encouragement from me, and they never will. Those who know of no purer sources of truth, who have traced up its stream no higher, stand, and wisely stand, by the Bible and the Constitution, and drink at it there with reverence and humility. But those who behold where it comes trickling into this lake or that pond, gird up their loins once more, and continue their pilgrimage toward its fountainhead. No man with a genius for legislation has appeared in America. They are rare in the history of the world. There are orators, politicians, and eloquent men by the thousand, but the speaker has not yet opened his mouth to speak, who is capable of settling the much vexed questions of the day. We love eloquence for its own sake, and not for any truth which it may utter or any heroism it may inspire. Our legislatures have not yet learned the comparative value of free trade. And of freedom, of union, and of restitude to a nation. They have no genius or talent for comparatively humble questions of taxation and finance, commerce, and manufactures and agriculture. If we were left solely to the worldly wit of legislatures and Congress for our guidance, uncorrected by the seasonable experience and the effectual complaints of the people, America would no longer retain her rank among the nations. For 1800 years, though pensions, I have no right to say it, the New Testament has been written, yet where is the legislator who has wisdom and practical talent enough to avail himself of the light which it sheds on the science of legislation? The authority of government, which such I am willing to submit to, for I will cheerfully obey those who know and can do better than I, and in many things even those who neither know nor can do so well, is still an impure one. To be strictly just, it must have the sanction and consent of the governed. It can have no pure right over my person and property, but what I concede to it. The progress from an absolute to a limited monarchy, from a limited monarchy to a democracy, is a progress toward a true respect for the individual. Even the Chinese philosopher was wise enough to regard the individual as the basis of the empire. Is a democracy such as we know it the last improvement possible in government? Is it not possible to take a step further towards recognizing and organizing the rights of man? There will never be a really free and enlightened state until the state comes to recognize the individual as a higher and independent power, from which all its own power and fast as it ripened, would prepare the way for a still more perfect and glorious state, which also I have imagined, but not yet anywhere seen. And that's the end of Civil Disobedience. We didn't have very much left. It's a nice book. I like the sounds it makes. And here's that cover again. It's nice. I like those. So, thank you so much for joining me. For my first book reading, I hope that you enjoyed it. I'd like to do more of these. One challenge is just finding books that are in the public domain that I think would be interesting. So I'll keep looking. But if you have any suggestions, go ahead and put them down in the comments below, and I'll check them out. And again, I'm so glad that you joined me tonight. I hope that this helps you relax. Maybe get some sleep. I know we all get so tired. It's good to relax. Try to sleep. And I've had a request to do some mouth sounds, so I'm gonna do that now. I'll see you next time.